welcome to the Fantasy Rewind podcast. I am your co-host, Dylan Stoll, and I'm joined as always by my friend, Michael Whifford.
Hey.
So today, we're going to be starting our Shadow and Bone coverage, Season 2 on Netflix, starting off with Episode 1, titled...
No Shelter But Me.
No Shelter But Me. How romantic. So, that pretty much sums up my feelings of this episode, but before we get in and cover any of that, let's give out the typical reminders here. So if you want to get in contact with the show, you could send us an email, which is fantasyrewindpod@gmail.com. We're also on Instagram, which is @fantasyrewindpod. Or you can tweet at us on Twitter, and that is @fantasyrewind. All right, without any farther delay, let's hop into the rewind.
Fantasy Rewind. All right, it's been a minute since we've been in the Grishaverse, Dylan, and we actually have never covered the first season of Shadow and Bone, which we will, as I said before, we'll have to rectify at some point. But initial feeling of being back in the Grishaverse with this first episode, go.
So first of all, I'm just excited because I enjoyed season 1 of Shadow and Bone quite a bit. It inspired me enough to buy the entire main trilogy as well as one of the other spin-off duologies. I haven't touched the duologies yet, but I've read through Shadow and Bone, the first book. I'm about to start Siege and Storm, which is book 2 of this. I kind of want to watch the season first, then read the book, and then be like, what did I just watch? So I might save that book until after the season is finished, or at least after I finish the season here. But yeah, all in all, I'm glad to be back in here. The trailer for this looked good. I was pretty hyped, and all in all, so far, like it's an enjoyable experience. I'm glad to talk about it. What about you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Me too. I was actually really surprised at how excited I was when I turned it on, and I've avoided trailers and everything else that I could have, but seeing Alina and Mel back on the screen there and their chemistry together, I just felt like it was really fresh. It felt really authentic and not like super corny, which was surprising to me because I thought at the end of the first season I got a little annoyed with them, but like
there's a little cheese at the end of the season 1.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just pumped to be back in this universe. I love these characters. I really love the crows.
Oh, yeah.
And it's fun that they're going between the two, and we have some new characters that I'm really actually excited about. I'm pumped to jump in here. Let's not do a play-by-play with this, because let's just jump in here and just talk about some of the things we liked and what we're curious about, what we didn't like, and maybe what we're excited for or what we think is going to be going on as we continue the season, because neither of us have read the second book, but we both read the first book and we both watched the first season. So, Dylan, some of your favorite parts in this first episode.
So I think for me, this is going to come as a little bit of a shock, I feel like, but my favorite part of the first episode is actually not at all involved with the Sun Summoner, not involved with the tracker. It's involved with Kaz and the crew of the Crows, because when they hop off that boat, their world's flipped upside down. They have no idea what's waiting for them, and just the fact that, Pekka Rollins has set them up for murder, has taken over the Crow Club, and they are now homeless, wanted, and wrongfully accused. So it's a shock for them stepping off the boat, and I'm there for it. I'm excited about that.
Let me build on that, because I thought in the first season, we got a taste of them, but we really didn't get too much, not enough, They seemed cool. We saw they were coming over from this area that seemed kind of sleazy, and they own this club, and he had made a deal to, get Inya's release there out of her indentured servitude. And I was just kind of like, okay, he's supposed to be kind of big and bad, but he doesn't really seem big and bad, Kaz.
Mm-hmm.
He's this mastermind for this group, the Crows, and obviously they have some clout if this guy wants to go after him. But I think this season already, you're just like, oh wow, he's got some charisma, he's got some definitely forethinking, and he's not afraid to go all big bad boss here. And I love that. I am really excited for really their story. And I know at some point the two are going to interweave again, but it's really exciting. And I love that Nina,
whatever you want to call her.
I know, but the oh my gosh,
the healer lady?
No, the heart.
Oh, the heart render. Okay, yeah, Nina.
Yeah, the heart render, Nina, and the heart render from the first season, who had the love affair with
the Fjordan
not the slaver,
guy.
but who based the culture that hates the Grisha.
Yes.
I love that she's back and she wants to rescue him. So these three storylines that were sort of established in the first season are going to be coming to the forefront and really connecting in a lot of interesting ways.
So I want to jump in there really quick, Mike, because you just talked about the three different storylines, and those are the 3-book series. So you have the main trilogy, which is going to be about Alina Starkov and, the Darkling and Mel and everything like that. But then another series here, one of the duologies is the the Two for Crows duology, which is about Kaz and his crew of crows. Then there is a third book series in the Grishaverse here. It's another duology, so only a 2-book one, and it's about Nina and the Fjordan. So I didn't even know that third one existed until I was at Barnes & Noble's recently, and I saw it out, because obviously they had a display of all the Grishaverse books there. So I just thought I'd throw that information in there. But to throw it back to what you said about Kaz, the ending of episode 1 here really reminded me of Fight Club, where I'm not sure if you know what I'm talking about with that, but at the end of Fight Club, okay, it's a little spoiler for you then, but it's okay, because I doubt you'll actually watch the movie. But
Probably.
in the end of Fight Club, Edward Norton's character takes his love interest to the roof, and then you just see bombs blowing up all over the city and causing some chaos there. And then so towards the end of episode 1 here, you see Kaz going up to the roof and blowing up the Crows Club, sending it all crumbling down. And so it just kind of reminded me of Fight Club there, and like that little bit of anarchist mentality of like, oh, if I can't have it, you will not have it. Like, I will rather destroy my club rather than let Pekka Rollins keep it for himself. Boom. And he just ruins it there. And so I just thought that this episode did a good job of, like you said, really showing you that Kaz is someone you don't want to cross. And he's someone who has some pretty good resources up his sleeve, even when he's backed into a corner and caught off guard.
Yeah. And that leads me into kind of another one of my favorite parts, at least for this episode, is the introduction of 2 new characters who I really like both of them. I think they're both hits for me, and they're going to be very interesting going forward. The first was Sturmhond, the privateer, who was the original person who hired the Crows to go get Lena Starkov. And there's definitely more to him than meets the eye, but he and at the end of the episode, you find out that Alina and Mel end up on his ship because he's looking for him, and he was the one searching for him. So he's going to be really interesting because he sort of gives me like Kaz vibes, where he is a bit of a mastermind of sorts, and he's thinking ahead a few plans, and they sort of have a bit of a back and forth when they're talking too. And Kaz sort of almost compliments him because he's like, yeah, he already figured this out. He knew it.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be really interesting going forward. And then the other one is Wylan. And he is the demolition man for Kaz and the Crows.
Okay, yeah.
And I think he's going to be he's going to have really nice interactions with the Crows, and specifically Jesper. I think him and Jesper are going to have probably, honestly, a romantic relationship if I have to guess.
Would not be surprised.
Which I love Jesper. I think he's such a fun character. Like, he's the gunsmith, or he's the gunslinger, but he's also a Grisha.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a secret Grisha.
Yeah, he's one of the ones who can turn materials into anything, right?
And so, that reveal, I want to touch on that for a second. That was not a part of season 1, if I remember correctly. Like, it was not revealed that Jesper is an actual Grisha. And so when they come
Kaz
out,
figures it out.
when they come out in season 2 here, and Kaz just like casually drops it. Oh yeah, I knew about that. It's like, whoa, we didn't know about that, or at least I didn't know about that. So that kind of caught me off guard with him being a secret Grisha.
Mm-hmm. Now I have to say too, obviously, man, I just am so excited for the Crows because that entire plot line, I can't wait for more background with them. Like, I think Inej has so many interesting things to reveal. Like, how did she end up here?
Yeah.
Why was it a choice to come here? Like, did she want a better life or something? And she just ended up getting into this situation. Was she specially trained before? Or was she trained at this club to be this way? Because she is badass.
She's fantastic. I like her a lot. But you know that she worked for a menagerie. And it sounds almost like it was a brothel / menagerie. Like, I don't know exactly like what it was, but it sounded...
what it entailed.
Yeah, it sounded like she was in a bad situation before. And it almost gave me the vibes of that, like something she was like sold into as like a young child. And she has some great skills though. So I'd like to see like where she picked those up from, if they touch on her backstory at all.
Yeah, like who's her mentor? And if her boss got killed that easily, like I wish they hadn't done that off screen because I think that would have been a really interesting way to end the first season. And I know it would have, now we wouldn't have this like, oh wow, he took over the club and everything kind of surprise. But I think it still would have been interesting. It still would have been a bit of a cliffhanger to the first season in that regard. But, I'm just so interested. I want to know everything about the entire realm that they're in, the area. But, all right. Oh, the other thing, since you haven't jumped in here to share, I'll jump ahead. The other two characters that I really like kind of their energy. I don't know if they're brother and sister necessarily. They're two members of Sturmon's crew. So they've got a warrior here. I just looked up their names so we could use them. And, oh yes, they are brother and sister. You're right. So we have Tamar and Tolia.
Yeah, I'm really interested in them as well. And like you said, the privateer, not a pirate, dude seems really cool too. Like I'm looking forward to seeing more of him coming up too. But I'm sorry, go right ahead about the two siblings.
I just love their dynamic. I thought like they had really fun energy, very much Crows, Jesper, and if there was two of them talking to himself. And so like I really dig that because it's a nice sort of counter for the Sun Summoner and how sometimes she can be very proper and like,
very serious.
Oh no, the world's ending. Yeah. And Mel, I'll protect you at all costs.
I'm Batman.
And well, no, the real Batman is Inej.
Inej, yeah.
Yeah, because she just disappears, which is just the best thing ever. But yeah, I'm really excited for all these characters. Now, is there anything that after watching this first episode you're a little reluctant on, or anything else you want to add that you were really excited about?
Yeah, so actually I do want to touch on some of the other factions that we get in episode 1, outside of just the Crows. And I think that, to me, the next most interesting faction is, again, not the Sun Summoner. It is the Darkling and his liberation of the fellow Grisha and his gathering of a Grisha army to him.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting because, in the first season, he sort of, I don't want to say alienated them, but he definitely left them out to dry in a sense, and now he controls the fold, and you could tell like they were scared of him, but at the same time, like it's either we join you or we go back to being in chains and we're dying.
Right, because we see we see lots of Grisha in cages, like being like poked at, having a little bit of almost like I don't want to call it racism, but like prejudice against Grisha taking place, where you see like the first army having them in cages and laughing about, oh, you got all the good rations. Well, who's laughing now? I'm going to eat your good food. Ha ha ha. And
we're going to let the fold eat you.
Yeah, we're going to let the fold eat you.
But apparently it doesn't do that anymore.
No.
I did like, though, too, with that scene, because in the first season it seemed like, okay, the Darkling's going to be able to have the Vulcan, like, come out, follow him out.
Yeah.
They don't really follow him out. He almost like holds on to him like Pokemon.
It's a good analogy.
It's probably the best analogy I can say, because like he sort of swaths them or like swaddles them in darkness.
Yeah.
But then, like, when they're done doing their thing, they, like, go back up his pants.
They go back to his ball. Keeping the Pokemon analogy going.
Yeah, just kept it going there. Yeah, I choose you. Okay,
Fulcrum.
Yeah, I agree. It's really setting up for a nice interaction here. The world building already in this first episode too.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
we see refugees coming from Ravka. We end up they go to this the sun. They're traveling. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the place that they went to.
Oh man!
But they're looking for. Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah,
the name
I'm
of
blanking on it right now.
Need a map of all of the different places here. But anyway, I do have to say that seeing them end up in this new country was really interesting because there's different refugees from Ravka. We have different people coming from Ketterdam, which was the town where the crows are from, which I may have said that wrong.
Oh, it's
and
Ketterdam,
they're on the... Yep, and I said it right. And they're on their way. They're looking for amplifiers, like the antlers were in the first season, so that way she can take care of the fold. And she's going to try to use 2, even though that's never been done before.
So the place is Novi Zem.
Yeah, and the reception they got there, and like I love how this place seems. It's bright, it's beautiful,
vibrant. Yeah,
it is not like Ravka.
No, very different from Ravka. And like you said, the world building by including this like very stark difference between the two societies is really cool.
Yeah, and I like too that people were standing up to the first soldiers like, "What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
like, we're just gonna stand in your way. You can't hurt us. Right. You're not even like
you're not even our army
citizens here." Yeah. And it just was really funny there that kind of happened, I guess. And also, too, their view on Grisha. So I think that's really interesting because the Darkwing's all about, like, oh, the Grisha have always been treated so poorly. Like, did you ever get on a boat and go to anywhere else?
Well, in his defense, in Fjorda, I think that's the name of the country, they kill him.
I know.
And so it's not, I think, that they were standing up for her because she was a Grisha. I think they were sitting up for her because she was the Sun Summoner. And because that the threat of the Fold, while it's more limited to Ravka right now, I think the whole world sees it as a threat.
Well, it could be, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, just like the Grisha there are treated as blessed.
Well, they also were kind of secret. Like the librarian wasn't like walking around in a bright coat telling what her class was for her Grisha powers. She was just wearing normal clothing.
I almost see that as they're integrated into society. They're not treated as a separate class. Like, yes, they're probably like, you're blessed, but that's it. Like, we're still like people. We're still members of the society. You just have some abilities that I don't have, and it's cool that you can help out our society by using those to help us. That's it.
Good point. Yeah,
and which is how they should be. And I think that's a really interesting way to sort of build out this world. And I don't know if she does this in the books or not, but it would be really cool to see these different ways that this group of people is treated in these different societies, because I think that tells a lot about that society as a whole, and it can show that just like our world, and we treat different groups differently in different places, unfortunately, it's a good sort of mirror to reflect that on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think about X-Men as well in that sense too, and how they're treated in a lot of most of the Marvel universe, and it would be kind of nice if in different areas mutants were treated differently, No,
I totally get that. I think that's a good point. And I think as we spend more time in other cultures and seeing other cultures other than Ravka, that it'll be something to keep an eye on. To like see, like if we go to Shuhan, how the Grisha are treated there.
Yeah.
And like, just farther build on this world that is pretty intriguing, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that.
Very deep.
I think that the concept of like Alina and Mal going on like a Indiana Jones kind of hunt for the lost
the amplifiers,
lost amplifier, yeah. I think that is going to be an interesting topic, just to see if anything like how long they actually drag that out. Like, is it going to be a situation where they spend the entire season going after this amplifier, or are they going to be able to like get the amplifier, realize it's not enough, that they need the third, and then kind of like start their quest for the third amplifier, the third legendary beast or whatever? it is. I think it's a bird.
I don't remember all that lore, so I will be interested to see that as well. And I think obviously we're gonna have some issue. They're gonna have to bring them all together at some point here again to have some conflict.
Are they? You think? Because they are from separate book series, so they live in the same world. But
I meant the Darkling and
like
the
stories.
Sun Summoner and stuff. Like there's gonna have to be some kind of clash. But they could keep the Crows and all them separated until like their storyline sort of resolved. And, then they're like, okay, we want to go back and help the Saint now.
So what do you make of the linked dreaming between the Darkling and the Sun Summoner?
I think it makes sense because they are opposites in terms of, like, power. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see...
He had her linked to him as well at one point when he was able to control her power.
Yes.
So I kind of took at it that way, where, like, even though she got rid of his control over her, they do still have a bond.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see if if Baghra shows back up.
Oh, his mom, yeah.
Because I feel like she's not just gone.
No. I don't think she's going to be just gone.
So
I think that she'll be coming back for like some kind of final confrontation against him.
Or maybe helping her to train again.
Yeah, very true.
And I think that would be really interesting to give some more context to him. And like, because she was originally trying to save her anyway. And it would be kind of interesting to see what her plan originally was. And yeah, just sort of how that all should have went and it didn't. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny when you think about this series, like how different things could have gone if the Sun Summoner never found out the Darkling's true nature. You know, like, would she be, like, in a relationship with him right now, being his little puppet?
Absolutely.
And, yeah, so it could have taken this series in a very different direction. Mm-hmm. So for that, I'm cool with Mal coming in and, like, saving the day by spoiling that. But I want to jump in and talk about that relationship between Mal and Alina here, because to me, like I had mentioned at the start of the episode, that was one of the big highlights of this first episode for season 2, is that there's some regret that they didn't start this relationship sooner, and they're like, well, we're not wasting any more time. Come tonight, it's on. Then it's not. But so my question for you is, do you think this relationship is going to be one of those will they, won't they's, oh my gosh, she's going to outgrow him, oh, they just kissed, oh, now they're fighting again, and never actually happen type of relationships? Or do you feel like they're going to actually have this delayed, prolonged kind of courtship where they like want each other but just are not able to, and then they finally are able to get it?
I think it's going to be the second there, because
yeah,
it's just like teasing us right now, and then eventually it's going to happen, and it's going to be great. Everyone's going to be like, oh my gosh, they finally did it.
So why I bring that up is because, you know, for everything that we like about the show, the book series is based on is technically like a young adult fantasy
romance,
book.
Yeah.
And so romance is going to be key for it. But what it really made me think of, it was about the Hunger Games with, you know, Katniss and Peeta, and how
that also had a love triangle.
Yes, they did have a love triangle.
And this one had a love triangle in the first season and in the first book with, you know, the Darkling, but that's done. Like, that's not happening anymore.
That's done, yeah. Who knows? Maybe this sea captain dude will come in and sweep her off her feet.
That would be really, I mean, I think that would be kind of dumb, because she's like so committed to him. It would have to be him getting jealous, Mal getting jealous and being stupid. And if that's the case, I don't know how. Probably just going to try to ignore it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you do bring up a good point. I think, though, we had talked in the books a little bit about them continuing on and her possibly outgrowing him and her like lust for power, because she's like searching for power to vanquish, you know, the Darkling. But in the hunt for power, is she going to start to become? She's
going to lose her humanity.
Yeah, lose
kind of
some of herself.
The Darkling.
Except, you know, light that burns.
Light. Yeah.
And like you even saw it with the map, right? She burned the map. So her powers aren't just all like, oh, you know, sunshine and rainbows. Like,
there's heat to that light.
Yeah. And if she's not careful, she could turn So I think that's the edge they really have to walk with her. And if they do want their relationship to sort of go in and out or be kind of in flux, she has to do something really bad. And like, as she's getting in this search for power, like maybe she gets the first amplifier and then it does start to go to her head a bit. And then he starts
loses control and does some damage with something.
And doesn't see it as a bad thing. That's the thing. It has to change who she is a little bit in terms of her humanity and her compassion, which is hard. They can't just make it a flip switch. Like, it has to be something that's gradual. But that would be something that would have Mel kind of like, hey, you're becoming just like him.
So hear me out for this.
Yeah.
So she gets a second amplifier. She goes to the fold and tries to blast it away, right?
Uh-huh.
She ends up blasting away a part of the fold, shrinking it down, but she also, like, blasts, like, a village or something that's, like, right on the outside of the fold and, like, obliterates that, and it becomes, like, a scorched, like,
Earth.
Mordor Inferno
Like
type
a
of situation.
Scar or something in the
Yeah.
earth. Yeah.
And so then she kind of has to deal with the whole, well, I'm getting rid of the darkness. It's, like, you know... it's collateral damage.
Cost?
Yeah. Is it worth it? And then Mel could kind of be like, it's not worth it, you know, like, just kind of create a light shield or whatever. And she's like, no, it has to be destroyed, whatever the cost.
Yeah, and then he has to stop her. That'd be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just think, like, she's definitely going to have to, like, tackle this whole humanity versus power thing, which not all the Grisha have to deal with, because some of them...
They're not super powerful.
They're not super powerful. But I think that is a very interesting conflict for them. So, I think we kind of did some theories right there. I'm not going to go into like what we think is going to happen in the next episode. You started watching it, and I'll be watching it soon. I'm excited. That's all. I'm excited for the season. 8 episodes.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
I mean, my only regret already is just how short this season is going to be. Only 8 episodes. And I keep saying only because I wish it was 10 at least. But it's all out there, so I'm sure you and I will be devouring this sooner rather than later.
Yeah. And we'll have to have Sean come back on because he's read a good portion of the books, actually.
Yeah,
or
I think
all
that'd
of
be
the
great.
books. So it would be kind of fun to have him talk about it in terms of the entire scope of the series. I'll have to talk with him
The
about
only
that.
thing I'd be hesitant about is I don't want to get anything spoiled.
Oh, I know. But I just mean, like, if what's happening is going to be how he feels it's going to align with the rest of the series versus, you know, if it's going to,
Right.
if
Like,
it's
as a
going
book
in a
reader
good
comparing it,
direction
yeah.
versus if he thinks, like, they might be going a little too much into their own lore or own canon.
Because I will say that is the one thing that you and I don't have for this series, is we don't have a foundation in the books.
No.
We have a foundation in the series itself on
really
Netflix.
enjoy it.
And
We read the first book,
I mean,
and we both
did.
kind of thought that, honestly, the
show was better.
better. Because it did make the Darkling less creepy.
It did. He was way too creepy in the book itself.
Yeah,
but
very.
I mean, you and I think we have first loyalty with this series to the show. So
Because we watched
seeing
it
how
first.
someone else who has a foundation in the source material,
Yeah.
how they feel about the show, how they feel the series is going, as it's diverging, or if it's not diverging from the books, we can find out. But seeing how he feels about it will offer a different perspective than what you and I can offer.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with all of that being said, we're excited to watch more Shadow and Bone Season 2. But until next time, this is going to be Two Nerds signing off. See ya.
See ya.